Public lashings, beheadings, and people drugged and smuggled across borders. It's been happening in Saudi Arabia, way before the killing of Jamal Khashoggi sent shockwaves around the world. Ever since Saudi King Abdulaziz Al Saud founded Saudi Arabia in 1932, the country has been governed by an absolute monarchy that doesn't tolerate any opposition. When the 2011 Arab Spring swept the region, the royal family of Al Saud saw it as an imminent threat. As demonstrations spread to Saudi Arabia, the government resorted to a violent crackdown of protests in Qatif, the oil-rich eastern province which is also home to most of Saudi Arabia's Shia population. Protesters were demanding an end to what they described as decades of discrimination against the Shia minority. While the world was hailing Saudi Arabia for welcoming new era of reform, arrests of prominent human rights activists, clerics, and authors were on the rise. Among them were activists who fought for Saudi women's right to drive, and they have been locked up for months. Journalist Turk bin Abdulaziz Al Jasir was arrested for allegedly operating the Twitter account kaşıkçı'nın, which disclosed human rights violations committed in the country. Al Jasir was killed in a Saudi prison just days after the Khashoggi killing. Detained dissidents also face institutionalized torture, commonly known as lashing. The Saudis have also resorted to abduction as a means of silencing dissent. Nasser al-Said, one of the country's first major opposition figures, disappeared in 1979. The Saudis dismissed the reports at the time, but decades later, Mark Young, a British bodyguard who worked for the royal family, revealed in his book that Said was kidnapped in Beirut and thrown off a plane over the Lebanese coast. Even members of the royal family have not been spared. Between 2015 and 2017, 3 out of the 4 Saudi princes living in exile have been kidnapped.
أنا أتكلم عن ناس طغاة مستبدين حمقى طاغين عاصين لربهم.
This is Prince Turki bin Bandar, who left Saudi Arabia in 2012 over a disputed inheritance claim. He went to Morocco in 2015 and disappeared. Moroccan press reported that he was deported following requests by the Saudi government. Then there was Prince Sultan bin Turki, who filed a criminal case in Switzerland against Saudi officials accusing them of drugging and kidnapping him in 2003. In 2016, he was lured into a meeting in Egypt, but his plane was allegedly diverted to Riyadh. Prince Saud bin Saif and Nasser, too, met a similar fate after he backed a letter calling for King Salman to be overthrown in 2015. The same year, he was kidnapped in Italy and hasn't been heard from since. Prince Khalid bin Farhan, the last dissident Saudi prince in Europe, spoke with BBC about what happened to the other princes.
يعني مصيرهم في سجن محدد تحت الأرض الله يعينهم يعني هذا اللي راح أقوله بس.
In a recent interview, he said the Saudis even tried to lure him to Egypt a few days before the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. In 2017, the crackdown on dissidents widened to include those close to the royal family in what is known as the Ritz-Carlton Purge. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered the arrest of princes, ministers, and prominent businessmen over corruption allegations, amid reports of abuse and death in custody. Soon after, most detainees were released following a deal, but for the less influential Saudi prisoners, their fate remains at stake. Despite Al Saud's history of crushing dissent, the regime has survived unscathed. But the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi has renewed international pressure on the royal family. So, will they finally be held to account?